Hello, it is I, Angry Wolf Glick, as you can tell by my very obvious angry features, such as angry face. Here to tell you how to set up for draft. In this example, I will be setting up for my week 1 opponent that I already lost to, but should have won, in all honesty. The first thing you need to do in order to get sets in draft, in my professional opinion, which is very professional, is to figure out who you're going against and put that on your bottom screen. I only do this screen thing because I don't like myself. So my week 1 opponent is Beans. After getting this information, you then need to open the VGC draft board. Go to Chosen and fix your board to your heart's content to make it to where both your Pokemon options and your opponents are visible on the same screen. This makes it a lot easier for you to be able to visualize what exactly you're going into. It's okay if you have 1 or 2 Pokemon missing, but here, as you can see Beans, and then myself, Angry Wolf Glick. Now, in this scenario, I'm going into Beans again. So, obviously, the first thing you need to do is decide, in your heart of hearts, what Mega you would like to go into this team. Into this team, I really don't like Mega Delphox. While I acknowledge they may have help in some places, mainly in the Mega Floette, I don't see my opponent using Mega Floette into this team, mainly with Metagross being a possibility, and also with King Gambit and other possible killers of that Pokemon. Another possible Pokemon that could just give it a hard time, I believe, is Basculation Male. So I'm going to assume going into this, my opponent's only Mega of choice is Mega Dragonite. For some other matchups going on, mainly any matchup into Kaizo, you can assume he's going to bring both Swampert and Scolipede, because Kaizo really likes Mega Scolipede, but can't acknowledge sometimes Mega Scolipede isn't viable. Moving along, we've already established that his likely Mega is going to be Mega Dragonite. Oh, whoops. Before we continue any further, I will give all of the items that I am using to go through this. I am using Nerd of Now damage calculator, setting it to champ, so that way I can get the best sets as of now from their own sing and then edit it as I need to. For example, my opponent will not be using Hurricane Extreme Speed Thunder Draco Meteor. I believe my opponent will instead be using something like Draco Meteor Air Slash. And that's why we have this move here, because I actually don't know if Dragonite gets Air Slash. So we can open up Dragonite and check if it gets Air Slash, which it does. The reason I'm accounting for Air Slash here is because I just feel like it's going to happen. This is definitely not my Dragonite set or anything. Anyway, as we can see, I now have to calculate for what beats Mega Dragonite. Is what an idiot would do. You never calc for the Mega first. You try to figure out what they would bring with the Mega looking at your own team. At least I think that's how I explained it last time. It's really hard for me to do this without just doing what I did last time. But then again, what I did last time was the best possible thing. So actually, let me go back and go to what I did on week 1. Ah, yes. I saw that bringing Metagross was the best option for my Mega of choice. You can choose to do your Mega first or your Mega last, however you like to exist, but I already have this Metagross saved. The reason I want to bring this Metagross... Oh, wait. This is Iron Head instead of Ice Punch. Ice Punch. Ice Punch is a really good coverage move. However, as you can see, it doesn't get the KO. One thing that I like to do whenever I'm doing draft, and I would recommend for other people, is trying to get rid of possible threats as fast as possible. Now you have to think about, in terms of your team, and Pokemon you could bring, is the opponent's mega a threat? In cases like Kaizo and Zoom, where it's their entire strategy, or they could have a crazy mega that you aren't really ready for, I would say yes. Into Zoom especially, his mega is always a threat, whether it be Mega Garchomp or Charizard Y. And that's all I'm gonna say because Zoom is actually my next opponent, so I should not speak on that further. But like for example, Moongeist and oh god, I don't want to talk about that one. For example, Daz and Oz here. When Daz, where is Daz on this thing? I think I just have to move this over a little. For example, with Daz and Oz, Oz has two megas that are really interesting, and Daz doesn't really have good answers. He does have Mega Scolipede and he does have Crocodile, but I feel like into Daz you can bring Raichu X, or you can do some really fun Trick Room shenanigans with Simple Beam and Mega Audino. But let's continue back to my match against Beans. Now, when you bring in your Mega of choice, you then have to think, what then supports my Mega to get to the objective of killing their Mega? You know who helps me whenever I'm losing? That's right, Lycanroc Dusk. I didn't even make this set just to deal with his team. This is just my Lycanroc set. I don't care if it's out there. This is the best set for Lycanroc. Because it covers everything. And I do in fact mean everything. In fact, it's so good, I might save it as best Lyca. Because my Lycanroc is female. Now if I guess, but now if I look Lycanroc, look, I have that set, and I'm going to put it over here. Now, one really cool thing is that pressing Accelerock into Dragonite breaks multiscale. There's a lot of things that can break multiscale, but this is definitely one of them. That's one of my big problems with Dragonite, is that, yeah, you can live a hit, but it's only one hit, because the moment you get to 99 HP somehow, look at that. Oh, shoot, I didn't save with Ice, I didn't save Ice Punch. Whoops. Look at that. Ice Punch is killing. So I consider Dragonite covered. And what some people might need to do is they might need to open a Google Doc. I use Google Docs so much it's saved. And they will make a covered list. And then you take your opponent's team. In this case, it'll be Beans. You put it here. You paste it on linked. And now you can say that Dragonite is covered by 1. We're going to keep Dragonite on the calc sheet because we're pretty sure they're going to be in the initial team. And then from wherever their mega is, I would say go down. Or I would say go to the next threat, which so far would be if he had a dark type, which he doesn't seem to. Second, while I go grab something to eat. Apologies if there's background noise. This is a working household. Anyway, where were we? Right, Lycanroc Dusk into Dragonite. The main idea here is click Accelerock into Dragonite, dealing enough, or anyone clicks any button in Dragonite, and then you click Ice Punch and you're winning. From here, you can either look at the next Pokemon, or you can click Export Team, go to Save and Load Team on my Pokemon team, and import what you have so far, and see what you're weak to so far, like Fighting, Water. More just looking at your possible coverage. You have really good fighting coverage, so you don't need to worry about this. You don't have any water coverage. Does your opponent have water? It's more just looking at what your opponent could do. And yes, my opponent does have water. Paldean and Tauros. So let's start working on Paldean and Tauros next. I already made a set for them because this is what I assume they might do. They have all the buttons that I would be scared of. And Psychic Fangs looks like it's already going to kill, but that's not an OHKO, and I really don't want to have 2 Pokemon that I need to double in order to cover. So, now, what can I do into this? I can bring my Grass-type Sceptile. I already have a set for them, but I will go over how I would think about making this set. The first thing you do, anytime you're making a set for a Pokemon, is you grab the Pokemon, and you look at what you're trying to cover for. Wow, Wave Crash has a chance to 2-KO, I don't freaking care. I would pick a move that you know will hit. One really annoying thing in this game is accuracy. Look, I already have a chance to Oko, but it's not Okoing just yet. So that's where you go to the extreme, because you go to the extreme of special attack, and they keep going down until you see that you can't kill. Because you may use this Pokemon for other things, but like I can stop adding, like once it's a roll, go up 2. So that way it's more guaranteed. And now you have 10, and then you can put 3, 2 into speed, so that way you outspeed everything, and then the rest goes into bulk however you feel like you need it, if they have something that might out this Pokemon. But my opponent here really doesn't, except for Scoville, which I just learned has Overheat, actually, because I forgot that Scoville was a Pokemon. So now that I do have this calc and I see Overheat is possible, now I get to be like, can I live this with 24 bulk? No, I can't. Can I live this with 12 and 12? No, I can't. This is an unavoidable outcome. And when you hit an unavoidable outcome, that's when you realize, oh shoot, I need to be able to deal with this. Guess who can? Not like in Rock, actually. Maybe with Expert Belt, but Sash is needed on that Pokemon. None of my Pokemon can fully deal with this Pokemon, but you know who might be able to, and then you go from there. And basically, sometimes whenever you add a Pokemon, oh wait, this is Mega. Yeah, that's something you'll have to deal with. You might just have to change their item to something. And then usually if you hit save, you click off, click back on, it'll stay on normal Scovillain. But now there's a chance that I can fix that. Hold on. I actually didn't think about this last time because I forgot this Pokemon can have it. This is where you need to be able to go like, okay, maybe we can go one down and go one more up here. And now we can almost live one. Like, maybe if I go like this in 3, no. This could be livable. I'm just too tired to figure it out. There are also times where you don't need to max out your speed, and you can look how fast can Tauros be at the maximum possibility, 167. When am I just one above that? 28. Awesome. That's more points I can put in bulk. Living a hit is probably one of the most important things in Pokemon. This is something that I got from the Kaizo community, actually. Look, now it's a roll. And in Pokemon, when this game is 50% luck, you'd rather a hit be a roll to kill than anything else. And now you can live, uh, that's not the set I gave it, but now you can live Draco Meteor. That's cool. Can you live Air Cutter? Oh my gosh, you can live the Air Cutter. Wait, that's kind of nice. I should have thought about that. Dragonite was never a problem for me in my matchup, by the way. So first match, it was Dragonite, Tauros. Actually, I can just look back at my notes so I can see what he brought. Okay, game 1. Exact team that I expected him to bring was nice. I brought Gross, Lycanroc, and in the back I had King Gambit and Sceptile. Another thing that you need to be able to think of is what is your best ideal for. And in my opinion, in this team, it's Metagross, Lycanroc, Sceptile, and King Gambit. Basculegion was just a Pokemon that I was thinking of was a really heavy hitter, but King Gambit's actually really nice. Will I often bring King Gambit? No one knows. Probably not. You can use the black class as offense then most of the time, and you'll probably be right to do that. Obviously, I will make my King Gambits more bulky usually, but what is King Gambit here for? There's a Meowstic I'm scared of. The next thing you always need to look at is does your opponent have a set Pokemon? This is more team theory, but here's what I expected his Meowstic to have. I didn't know it got Trick Room, and that actually screwed me over, I believe, if I look back at my notes. Gross, Septile, King Gambit, and Lycanroc in the back, assuming an adaptation. That is one thing I do a lot, and I'm very annoyed about that. Opponent did the exact same lead. Nice buttons. I wanted to win without a Mega, so because I was tired. He then brought Hisuian Typhlosion, which was a Pokemon that I was okay with. Because as you look at more Pokemon, you realize some Pokemon can cover it. Also, Meowstic is no longer a problem right here. Because, look, his ideal for for round one, my ideal four completely beat. Congratulations. This is where we then go to, what if they bring something that screws me over? This is when I started calculating for Hisuian Typhlosion, which was something he did bring a lot. I assumed he would be doing Scarf Eruption. I don't know if I was right in that. I'll have to look back at his set. I'm pretty sure he put it in match 3. Jump to present. Oh, yeah. Yeah, he was doing this exact set. I got all of his sets right, by the way, except for his Tauros set, obviously, but this was more me thinking about it. And also, I didn't know that he got close combat, but that never came up, so it was okay. Oh, he also put Flamethrower and E-Speed on his Dragonite, which, by the way, no Pokemon should ever be a mixed attacker. I don't feel like I need to tell anyone that, but for our newer players that are in this draft, never do that. I did at one point consider Psychic Terrain, and you need to be ready if a Pokemon can set Terrain, because some crazy people will put Terrain on their Pokemon, and you will hate it. Like, I was ready for Thunder Wave, and I was like, okay, if he clicks Thunder Wave, I'm losing, that's fine. But I think it's Fake Tears. Yeah, this was the set he ended up running. Notice how I wasn't prepping for Fake Tears. Notice how I wasn't prepping for Terrain. Terrain is one of the scariest things on the planet. I have noticed that if a Pokemon can click Psychic Terrain and you can't deal with it, Sucker Punch won't work. He also put a Papaya Berry. You always need to be looking at berries that a Pokemon could be having, but that's a lot. That's a lot. That's a lot of stuff that's not important. But yeah, Dragonite's never a threat. Hisuian Typhlosion was not the threat. The main threat is always a setup Pokemon, and you need to be able to deal with that as fast as possible. Sucker Punch would never have worked into this Pokemon unless they clicked Fake Out, which you shouldn't be doing in front of a Kingambit that can one-shot you, and he never did. Now my last two Pokemon are here for more niche matchups. Yes, I can almost kill it, but what if I hypothetically need another Pokemon to double into it that could kill it? That's when you need to be able to adapt with your secondary Mega. If I go to this is the Fox I ended up going with because Shadow Ball, after a nasty plot, Okos. If I do the +2 in special attack here, after a nasty plot, Okos. But I don't need nasty plot because usually Lycanroc will be around if I need to do this lead. Into here, after nasty plot, there's a roll. After a nasty plot here, it's a roll. Here, it's death. Here, that's with multi-skill. Always make sure you're clicking say, hey, there's a chance I OHKO. But yeah, they're not here for that. They're mainly here for crazy matchups that you're not really expecting to happen, but if they do happen, you need to be ready for them. So over here, we have now covered Tauros Aqua, Doo Team Building twice, covered Meowstic now once. We've covered... Oh, this is the next Pokemon we should look at. Well, does anyone cover grass types naturally? No. Ice Punch. But, I don't know how I feel about that. Does Scoville get covered by... I forgot how much of a problem this Pokemon was. Did he ever bring it? Same lead. Hisuian Typhlosion, Serpent, Pop Sash, Contrary, Scary. Psychic Fangs killed Meowstic and did something. Oh, and Meow did something. Meow to Scoville. Yeah, he did bring Scoville in, which is when I learned to overheat. Sorry, it's really hard to read notes whenever I was that tired. A lot of me using kid words. Next thing we need to look at now is just Whenever you're trying to figure out your 6, unless there is a Pokemon you still haven't covered that you believe will be a threat, stop. Unless there's a Pokemon you... Unless there's a Pokemon that you believe will be a threat, look, I cover every type at least once, which is very good. Stabs are +2s, by the way, so sometimes I will only cover with one Pokemon, but it'll be stab, so it's okay. But yeah, I cover every type in electric, and my opponent doesn't have any electric types, right? Except for Galarian Stunfisk, but Galarian Stunfisk is also steel type, and I have no fear of those. He also never brought it, so it's okay. But yeah, you want to be able to deal with problems like, in hindsight, I should have covered for Superior more. I didn't know it got Contrary. It's definitely not something I saw coming. But yeah, he would hit Leaf Storm, and it would give him buffs that I'm just not ready to deal with. And then he did 32, 32, 2. I'm pretty sure. Leaf Storm hurt Lycanroc, but Sash. Leaf Storm was just a threat, and then he became +2, and then he would become +4, and +4 was the highest he ever got, and it was not great. I think I bought Basculegion at one point. I don't know why I brought this Pokemon. I think I just saw that it was fun, and I was like, why not? I bring a fun Pokemon. And then this is what I ended up doing into, I think it was this team, no? And then a couple things were swapped around. Let me go back to the team. Let's see. Evil Ogerpond was, yep, I got his entire team right. I was calcing for the right Pokemon. I just said Superior is not going to be an issue, because if it ever does become an issue, I'm just a bad player at that point. So I can acknowledge that that is one spot where it's bad. But I would say try to cover each Pokemon at least once, possibly twice. Never go more than twice. Okay, now adding Basculegion. Yeah, Leaf Storm freaking murders. Last Respects is kind of Okay. Even after 2 times, it's not great. Is it? After 2 Pokemon were dead, Last Respect would have killed. But guess what? Superior wasn't faster. What? I don't know how he killed me then. No one knows or cares. But yeah, no one really had an answer to this behemoth, so I never really did anything about it. And then he just kept clicking Eruption. So yeah, you just need to be able to be like, okay, if this is the team I'm assuming, which I did get the team right, by the way. I'm very proud of myself at that. I was thinking about Mudstale, but he never brought Mudstale, did he? Mega and Meteor Mash Meowstic, XL Rock Typhlosion, Swiss sets Terrain, Eruption does nothing, 70% Meow after Citrus, Typhlosion to Paldean Tauros, 43% with Fangs, by Metagross, Mega Meowstic Dragonite, Paldean Tauros protected. We got it right. We were already going to attack that anyway, so it went to 56 after Lycanroc Fang, Paldean Tauros, and Grass Ice Punch. Grass Ice Punch. MD. Huh. Oh, Ice Punch and Meta. The Ice Punch Metagross kills Ice Punch Mega Dragonite. Mega Dragonite is dead. Paldean Tauros then died the next turn. Everybody was -1, but oh, this was all -1. Metagross hits Protect. Fake out. Fake out fails. I called out Heat Wave. I went 1-zip. But yeah, I got all of his sets right except for Swiss. And if I had taken a couple threats more seriously, I would have been fine. Well, all of the sets besides Swiss and Zoroark. And that's just what you have to be ready for. Like, that's why you need to be able to cover these Pokemon. You want 100% or a little more with everyone that you're swinging into. Like, in the end, no one was really there to deal with Superior. I was just like, I can probably double into the snake. I'm not scared of the snake, but I should have been scared of the snake. So I will take these lessons and go in around 2 of them. But yeah, that's my video on set making. This was Angry Wolfie VGC, definitely no one else. And if you have any further questions, please let me know because I'm definitely down to say more about a couple of these. But I would say go from your opponent's mega and just go down the list. What covers this? What else does this Pokemon cover? You want to cover each of their Pokemon at least once, ideally twice. Because I know with some teams it's a lot harder to cover twice. And when you don't know what they're gonna do, which I'm expecting Moonguy's cat to be crazy, and I want a recording and I want a replay of Moonguy's cat. Um, I'm expecting this match to go insanely wild. Going into the Kaizo matchup means is not too happy. Superior can do a lot. Scovillain can do a lot, but I don't feel like. Well, Dragonite's also really good, and we already went over what a Dragonite set could look like, which is Draco Meteor, Hurricane, E-Speed, Thunder, and he already showed that he can. He's comfy with pressing Flamethrower. He's comfy with dealing with these threats that I'm just not scared of. And the new guy Juan, I cannot speak on because I've already helped Juan with team building. But yeah, go ahead and ask me questions because I love questions. And I will start working on my matchup into Zoom. Goodbye. Oh wait, good afternoon, good evening, and most importantly, good night.